Good morning, everyone. I welcome you all to the Department of Biotechnology and the Medical Engineering. And I hope all of your admission process, whether MTech students or the PhD scholars, your admission has been quite smooth. And I congratulate you all and for your admission in at NIT or at NIT Rourkela. Okay. So this is the first class of BM 603 6301 BM 6301. The course name is Biomedical Signal Processing. Okay, so your TA will be Mr. Bikash. Okay, Bikash Kumar Pradhan, and he will be your one of the most go-to person throughout this course. Okay, so he will be helping me in this course by sending you these assignments, and he will be managing all the records and all this stuff. Okay, so I have given you the link for the WhatsApp group. So through that WhatsApp group you can get the phone number of Mr. Bikash. I am not sharing the Bikash phone number over here because this lecture will be uploaded in the YouTube, and it will be available for you uh, to access it at a later stage. Okay, so with this, let's start with the introductory class, biomedical signal processing. Uh, so, in the first three class, I will be going a bit slow because it is expected that from 1st of September, few more MTech students they will be joining. Okay, and mm, by that time, I just want to have some introductory classes only. So before going into the what is the course content you can expect in this semester, I would like to discuss something about this course itself. So I am Dr. Kunal Pal. So I will be the your course instructor for this course. Okay. So coming to the biomedical signal processing. So if you see, there are two parts basically, or you can say there are three words: biomedical, signal, and processing. So signal processing, these two words, they are used basically as a separate field altogether. In general, many of you, those who are from basically from the background of biomedical or electronics or electrical or computer science, must have heard about the course DSP, digital signal processing. Okay, so when we deal with the signals which are digitized, then it is called digital signal processing. Herein, in the biomedical signal processing, it is a subset of digital signal processing where we deal with biomedical signals. Okay, hence the field of DSP that what do you call that involves the uh, processing of the biomedical signals, that field is called as biomedical signal processing. So in short, you can say that biomedical signal processing is a subset of digital signal processing wherein we use the biomedical signals to process. Okay, so what are biomedical signals? Okay, So what are biomedical signals? Biomedical signals are the signals which are obtained from the human body. Okay. So what are the signals? One of the classical example is my speech signal. So I am talking. So how I am talking? Various organs in my body, they are coordinating to generate physical waves. So these physical waves basically are the speech signals. Okay. Then next is another classical example. In many movies or serials, you will find that if there is any tense situation, the hero or heroine or the what do you call villain, they just catch off their left side of the body, left side of the chest, in fact, and they sit down and they create some what do you call some typical reaction as if they are having the cardiac arrest. Okay, so cardiac arrest means they are having the heart attack. Okay, now with the heart there is a classical signal which is associated, and that signal is ECG signals, electrocardiogram. Okay, so speech signals, electrocardiogram signals. Third is electromyogram signals. What are electromyogram signals? The signals which are being generated by the muscles. Okay. Then fourth is electrooculogram. So when we move our eyes, our eye basically it acts as a dipole. So why it acts as a dipole? Suppose this is our eyeball, and this frontal area that I am marking with red, it is cornea, and at the rear end we have retina. Retina, it is very active, or you can say it is highly active, and their metabolic interaction is very high in the retinal cells, and because of that reason the retina, it has a slightly negative charge, whereas cornea, they are slightly positively charged. So, and this negative and the positive charges, they are a permanent charge. So because of this reason, we have a dipole between the rear end of the eye and the what you call the frontal area of the eye. And what happens in a dipole? If you get a voltmeter, okay, so suppose you have this voltmeter. If your eye moves, suppose this is the left side, this is the right side. So if you move your eyes towards the right, so what will happen? The voltmeter will show you a positive signal. Okay. On the contrary, if you move the pole to the this dipole to the left hand side, you will be getting a negative movement. Okay. So since our retina, this eyeball, it is acting as a dipole. Okay. So when we move, and if we place two electrodes across the eyes, so depending upon on which direction we are moving the eye, this dipole will also move over there, and we will either get a positive signal or a negative signal. Okay. So this is there. Okay. Now these ECG and EMG signals, and there are many other signals like which are not much used, are EGG signals, electrogastrogram. Okay. Now these signals, okay, another important signal which I forgot, it is the EEG signals. These are basically the brain waves. So these brain waves basically they are being generated from the neural cells within our brain. Okay. So most of these signals, say this ECG signal, EMG signal, EEG signal, and also the EGG signals, all these waves they are associated with action potential. That is the potential which is being generated by the cells themselves. Okay. So herein the potentials are being generated due to the movement of the ions across the cells, and this process is called action potential. Whereas speed signals, this is a physical signal, as I told you earlier. EOG signals, they are also electrical signals just like the action potential, but there is a dipole movement over here. It is not uh, associated with the action potential of the cells. It is basically there is an ever existing dipole moment in the eye, and when we move our eye, this dipole moment moves, and accordingly we can capture the movement of the eyes by measuring the movement of the dipole. That is what we do in EOG. So basically, if you see, as I said you now, you can classify these biomedical signals broadly into these three categories. So broadly, firstly into two categories: physical signals, and you can talk about electrical signals. And in the electrical signals, you can have the signals which are being generated by the action potential, and the signals that are being generated due to the movement of the dipole which is associated with our eye. It is also called electrooculogram. There is another signal component which is called ENG, which is not much used in medical purposes, but in biomedical research it is quite highly used, and it is called ENG, electroneurogram. Okay. And another stuff which is associated with this is the electroretinogram. Okay. So electroneurogram means we use some invasive electrodes which are being inserted within the human body. Okay. So in this case, I called that electroneurogram. Neuro means nerves. So the electrodes are being inserted within the neural cells, and from that neural cells we get the recordings. In a similar way, there is another recording which is called electroretinogram, which is associated with the retina. Over here in the retinal layer we insert an electrode. So it is also an invasive procedure. Whereas electrooculogram, it is a non-invasive procedure. Okay. Then ECG, it is mainly non-invasive in nature. EMG, it can be both invasive or the non-invasive in nature. EOG, non-invasive. EEG, again, it may be invasive or non-invasive. However, in most of the cases, as I told you, the invasive signal acquisitions, they are mainly used in medical research. Okay, they are mainly used in medical research. Okay. So these are some of the biomedical signals. Now, why to study these biomedical signals? The first thing Why we want to study the biomedical signals? First one, we want to analyze the health condition of a person. Okay. What health condition? Suppose you are having some chest pain, you go to the doctor, the doctor asks you to go for an ECG recording, and from there you can find out whether there is any um, or there is any disease which is related to the heart. Okay, so an early intervention to the disease can help you in curing the disease itself. Okay, then second, it may be you want to develop some rehabilitation devices. Okay. Say for example, a person is quadriplegic. That means all his four limbs they are inactivated. So there is a person. If all his four limbs are inactivated, then the person is regarded as quadriplegic. Now, what happens? These quadriplegic patients they mainly remain incapacitated while doing their day-to-day activities. Now, by acquiring their biological signals, say for example, whatever the residual biosignals they can generate, say for example, they can generate residual EMG, there might be very few body parts which may be active, so the person can generate the EMG from those parts. We can capture also EOG from the student from these type of patients, because the movement of the eyes is the last or the last function which goes in an incapacitated or a paralyzed person. Okay, so we have this EOG. So whatever the residual signals the quadriplegic patients can generate, we can acquire those signals and we can do some signal processing onto that, and then we can generate some control signals. Now these control signals they can be used to drive the rehabilitative devices. Okay, the classical example is, suppose there is a wheelchair movement and the person wants to move the wheelchair. So what happens over there? Since the person is quadriplegic in nature, he will not be able to move independently, right? Now, under conventional wheelchairs, there should be some caregiver who should be associated with the patient all the time. Okay. Now, under that condition, this person he will have some depression, because he will all the time he will be needing some help, and also in many cases you will find the family members they are not able to keep extra caregiver for this person, because in India many of the families they do not have the capability, financial capability to keep extra caregivers. Okay. So under these circumstances, the use of these rehabilitative devices, which can be controlled using biomedical signals, they have gained much importance. Okay. Apart from this, which helps in direct rehabilitation, there are another type of rehabilitation devices which helps the patients to gain some activity through games. You must have seen in various movies also that if someone is getting paralyzed, that means they are getting inactivated or incapacitated. Okay. However, even after the incapacitation, so what happens if you give physiotherapy? This person can get can regain most of their activities. Okay. So what is this physiotherapy? This physiotherapy is doing some muscular activity so that the muscles which has got paralyzed, which has got cramped, you can reactivate those muscles, and the person should be able to regain most of the activities in those muscles, and they will be again gaining control of over their life. This is true in many of the cases. I am not telling in all the cases. Okay. It depends on the clinical condition of the patient. So what the patient is going through. So the doctors, they will take a definitive what you call treatment modality. Now, in those conditions, we can develop some games, say, which will be based on the biofeedback. Okay. So what is biofeedback? Biofeedback means it would the game it would take the biosignals from the human body. It will do signal processing, and then it will generate the control signals. And these control signals will be used to manipulate or control the games. Okay, video games. So under this condition, the rehabilitation process, it becomes more fun to the what you call to the patients. Okay, why? If I ask you, you do exercise every day, those who are highly motivated, they will definitely do it. But many of us, including me, if we do not have something which is getting us entertained in a separate way, say for example, for me it is the music. I need to have a music before I go for the exercise, during the exercise also, in fact. So I need a feedback from the environment that yeah, there is something with me which is getting motivating me. Okay. So this is the case with many of us. So without any feedback from the environment, we get bored. You may do the exercise for 1 day 2 day, okay, but after that you will lose hope. However, the music will give you some fun. It will give a pleasure sense to your mind, and you will be quite happy to do the to do the exercises, right? The same thing goes with the patients also. One of the major problem with the paraplegic or quadriplegic patients, it is that they easily get demotivated and they may get depressed. Under these circumstances, if we develop some video games which will keep them engaged by taking the biofeedback from them. So if we control this game using the biofeedback, suppose usually what you have in the video games, you have a joystick and a couple of buttons. Now what if we replace those joystick or the buttons with the biological signals? Okay, say for example, if you move your eye towards the right, it will act as one of the control for the game. If you move the eyes to the left, it will be acting as the control for the for another control. Okay, and then you can have some various EMG activities which you can associate it with the gaming control system. Okay, so using these signals, you can control the video games. One of the classical example is that while we were kids, many of us must have heard about these water video games. Okay, so in the water video games, basically there was a device like this, and there were two buttons like this, and then you are having uh, a transparent window, and then there were two poles, and there were several colored rings. So by using these controls, we need to put these rings into either of these two poles. Okay. So what was the biofeedback? The biofeedback was the visual feedback. Okay, it was the visual feedback. We are getting the information visually through the eyes, and then we are controlling it using our fingers. Okay. However, in this kind of biofeedback games, video games, you take the biomedical signal, you do some processing, you generate control signals, and those control signals will be used to manipulate the characters in the video games. Okay. So these are the two main points why we need this biomedical signal analysis. Okay. So first is the health condition, to analyze whether the patient is having some disease or not, and in many cases, like in pacemaker, we can also use it for the treatment modality, that we need to put into our body the pacemakers. Okay, like this, right? Then we can go for the rehabilitation devices. Now coming to this next term, signal processing. So many of us, we have tomatoes, we have seen tomatoes. Okay. Now if you look to our mothers, they will be using tomatoes for making food. However, nowadays you will find that there are various tomato ketchups. And many of the current generation uh, cooks, they would prefer to have tomato ketchups over the tomatoes to cook any of the food, because it makes your life easy. So how does this tomato is converted into tomato ketchups? Okay. So while converting tomatoes to the tomato ketchups, we perform food processing. We perform food processing. Okay. Now in this food processing, what we are achieving? We are achieving tomato ketchup, which is a meaningful product for us, and which will help us in the process of cooking. So this tomato, it is being passed through several steps to get the tomato ketchup. Okay. Now these steps, intermediary steps, which we have not mentioned over here, they are called the processing steps. Similarly, when we have this, when we talk about the signals, in our case, the signal is the biomedical signal. Okay. Now when we get this signal and we apply different sequential steps, those are called processing steps. So there may be certain steps over here, so they are called processing steps. To get an output which would have some meaningful inference for us. Okay, meaningful inference. So this is called signal processing. So what are the processing steps? It may be a simple mathematical operation, say multiply, addition, subtraction, division, or a combination of these and other advanced techniques which we call as the algorithm, where we apply various mathematical steps in a logical way to get an output which will give us some meaningful inference. In our biofeedback games, which I just talked to you a few moments back, over there the meaningful inference was the control signals which will be able to control the game characters. So these processing steps constitute the signal processing. Okay. So I'm not going into the details. In the next classes from tomorrow onwards, when we'll be starting, so we'll be looking into the different aspects. Okay. So you would be able to, in this class, basically we'll be looking into the what are the different processing steps which we can imply or which we can use to modulate the biomedical signals. Okay. So this is what you will be expecting from me. So what is the course content? We will be having a short introduction. In this short introduction, we will be discussing about this discrete time, systems and signals. Then we have Z transform. Then we have difference equation. This will be the first part. We will take 6 to 7 classes over here. Then we will go to the IIR filter design. We will go for impulse and step invariant method, bilinear transform method, matched Z transform method, and then IIR filter design using the Butterworth filter and Chebyshev filter. Okay. Then we will go for the FIR filter design. In the FIR filter design, we will be going for this Fourier series method, windowing method, frequency sampling method, and then half band FIR filters, FIR digital differentiators, and FIR Hilbert transformers. Then next we will be going towards the adaptive filters, which are basically the linear filters. Over here now we will be looking into the mean square error criteria, FIR linear filter, non-causal IR linear filter, causal IR linear filter. Okay. Then we'll be discussing about multi-rate DSP signal processing. In this, we will be talking about decimation, interpolation, sampling rate conversion, and polyphase decomposition. The next topic would be signal modeling, where we will be talking about the AR model, autoregressive model, moving average model, then the combination of both AR, MA, autoregressive moving average models, and then ARIMA, where I stands for the integration. Okay, autoregressive integrated moving average models. Then apart from this, next we will be talking about the time frequency analysis, where we will be talking about STFT, wavelet transform, and wavelet packet decomposition. STFT stands for short time Fourier transform. WT is the wavelet transform. Then and WPD, it is the wavelet packet decomposition. Then next we will be talking about DSP hardware. We will be talking about the different design methodologies, popular architectures, and overview of the programming of the DSP hardware. We will be just talking about this, and then lastly we will be talking about some of the applications of the above methods in biomedical field. Okay. So next is books to be referred. So what are the books to be referred? Digital signal processing by Proakis, then discrete time signal processing by Oppenheim, then digital signal processing by Tarun K. Rawat, then biomedical signal processing by Willis J. Tompkins. It is one of the best one of the best books if you want to start with biomedical digital signal processing. Okay, so this is one of the must-have book for all the biomedical engineers. Then the joint time frequency analysis, especially the wavelet part, it will be covered from the conceptual wavelets in digital signal processing, D. Lee Fugel. Okay. Then the evaluation for this course would be mid-semester 30 marks examination if it happens. In usually in the last semester, what has happened is that we had only end semester exam because students are not able to come back to the institute due to the COVID pandemic. So we only had the end semester this thing examination, and from this 50 marks, it was being converted into 80 marks. So that means you'll be giving an exam in 50 and your 30 marks midterm marks will be automatically calculated, but however the decision is not yet taken by the administration, and in due course of time we will be having a clear picture. Okay, so anyhow you have to give either both or at least the end semester examination. Then teachers evaluation. The teachers evaluation, the teacher is having 20 marks for the evaluation. So in this, I usually take 4 class tests. Okay, I will be taking 4 class tests, and uh, this would constitute the 10 marks of the this 20 marks. Okay, and out of the 4 class tests, I will take base 2 marks of your class test. Okay, then every week, not this week, from the next week onwards, we will be giving you the assignments, and that assignment would constitute 5 marks, and we will be taking your class notebook at regular intervals. Class notebook means we would ask you to scan your copy and send to a specific Gmail, and you have to look over there. You have to submit your scanned copy of the class notebook, whatever the notes you are making, and you have to submit, and that will constitute the 5 marks. So 10 plus 5 plus 5. Okay, so this would constitute the 20 marks of your teacher's evaluation. Okay, so I would suggest all of you to be regular with my classes. Otherwise, you will find it difficult. Many students they find it difficult. Okay, so please try to be punctual in my classes. Okay, and whatever I teach, and try to make a class notebook every day. Okay, because we will be taking your notebook at any time, and within 1 hour you need to submit the class notebook, scan copy of the class notebook. Okay, so that's it from me.